This broadcast is inappropriate for all ages, right here on hashtag WeAreMovieClub. I am Cameron, here today to talk to you about The Forgotten. This is, I think, in the category suspense thriller. If, real quick before we jump into that, if you like talking about movies or, no, doing that all wrong. If you like talking about movies, go ahead and hit us up at We Are Movie Club, um, and let us know what you think about The Forgotten, and talk to us about it there. Um, wow, I swear I had this framed properly. There we go. We magic. So, The Forgotten is kind of a suspense thriller starring Julianne Moore. It's the back of the box description of it is that someone is trying to, something is going on where there's a situation where everyone else is forgetting her child. Um, and if we're going to talk non spoilers, it's really hard because this is a drip feed of information type thing. It's the same category I would put kind of Memento and Stoker in, where it's literally like you know nothing about what's going on, and we're just going to discover things as the movie goes on. We actually know less than the character knows because the characters will give us or pieces of information through flashbacks or whatever as they piece things together. Honestly, if we just had the one flashback scene at the beginning instead of the big sweeping scenes and the just oh my god, who is this person and what is she doing type stuff, I think it would have set the movie up a lot better. But that's just me. Um, that's not really spoilers. It's there. It's very bad. It's very the premise of the movie is that other people are forgetting her kid and she doesn't want to forget. And she's trying to figure out what's going on. So it's a very big conspiracy type movie where she is looking after the few clues that she has and what's going on to try to figure out what is happening in the world where people could possibly forget her son. Um, that's really kind of the spoiler free snippet of it. I really enjoyed this movie. I was excited to see this movie again. I saw it on Netflix as I was looking through things to maybe watch, and it really is one of those movies where like you can really get into it. It's very kind of what is happening, but it very much depends how you were told to watch the movie, because it could be that the person who suggested you watch the movie uh, ruined it for you, if we're being honest, just because of how they say it. So we'll go ahead and jump into a spoiler section here. I get that's not a lot to go on, but it's definitely worth the watch. Um, so yeah, so if they tell you it's about aliens kidnapping kids, then you might have the movie ruined for you. Now it's still a great thematic and cinematic watch. Knowing all those things and watching it again, knowing like the entire plot, it was still a good watch because you got to see some things. There is some exquisite acting that happens. If you're not familiar with that phrase, it's when actors kind of go over the top. And to me, it was almost like the characters were written over the top in certain scenes. It's not so much that these actors did a bad job or did such a bad job it was great again. But it was very much that the movie was written very awkwardly at points, and so you kind of see the characters kind of go off the hinges a little bit and then steady out, and then the other character goes off the hinges, it steadies out, and it's very very confusing if you're not familiar with how like the flow of character conversation is supposed to go. Dialogue, that's it. And I wouldn't blame you if you were just like, what the fuck is this, and then stopped, because it does take a while for it to get interesting. If you don't like mystery, if you don't like detective work, if you don't like piecing together and tracking clues, you may not enjoy this so much. But I like all those things. I watch some detective shows. I watch things like Flash and Arrow um, as well. So, eh. But yeah. Anyways, it's just a really good movie when it comes down to it. You just have to get into it, and I hate it when people say, "Well, you only gave it 10 minutes. You didn't really give it a shot." In fairness, this is kind of one of those movies, but if you stick through the whole thing, it feeds into the information into you, and you get uh, its worth out of the movie. It's very interesting to build all the context of the movie up and then get to it. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and go jump into scene by scene. We'll do it at this angle, cause why not? Why not? Do 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 do. There we go. All right, so we're opening up sweeping scenes of a nice neighborhood. I'll go ahead and say this part up front. It is really hard to sympathize with rich people who have enough money to buy themselves out of most of their normal problems. So when you throw supernatural stuff at them, I find myself going, good. Because it's very hard to relate to these people in general. And, yeah. It's kind of messed up. But, let's see. So we eventually pan into a house with Julianne Moore. She's looking at a picture of a boy, and somehow we know that's Sam, because I wrote the word there. Okay, so then she's talking with the psychologist about how much time she spent at the dresser. So apparently this is going long enough that they have had repeated sessions about it. She knows the time from when something happened. We're not told what happens. Um, and I think you're supposed to infer that the boy is missing or whatnot. If you know any of the premise of the movie, great. But you should be able to look at a movie as if you know nothing about the movie and somebody put it on and left. So I should have a better clue of what's happening at this point, and I don't. So on the phone, there's a conversation with a man. The picture infers that it may be your husband. So it's starting to get us used to taking in information bit by bit. Outside, she talks to the neighbor lady. And they clearly talk about her missing kid. Um, she thinks she parked her car in a spot, and there's some weird guy parked there instead. And he points out to where she's actually parked. Let's see. Oh, I gotta stop doing this. Um, and then she's back with the psychologist. She doesn't want to talk about sex with him because people really don't like to do that a lot of the time. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, and then we introduced the idea of her having thoughts that she did or did not have. I didn't go back and look, but she thinks she has coffee and then she doesn't. And he's explained to her how her memory can create false memories, if you will. It's not entirely uncommon that we would retroactively create memories like that, but the scale of what is happening. There we go. That's part of my problem. Technical issues are wonderful, folks. We're going to go ahead and do this just so I don't have to mess with it too much. So the yeah, so the psychologist is explaining away how we can explain away this tragedy of events that that people could forget about things, or create memories of things that don't exist. Um, and he calls it amplifying. So she took the smell of his coffee and amplified it into her having her own coffee. That's the theory, at least. And then we go to a dinner scene with her and her husband. He's trying to celebrate that she's going back to work. And she sees a picture of them, but apparently she must be upset because there's no Sam in the picture. She reacts kind of violently. So we're supposed to ask ourselves, I think, at this point, why isn't Sam in the picture when she thinks he should be? Um, is she crazy? Uh, Is he made up? Is it ghosts? I don't know. Like there's so many in the world of cinema. There's so many possible explanations to that. Um, so she runs away, and then she meets this guy on the swings. Um, his name's Ash. That's right. Um, let's see. She goes home. She goes to bed late. She asks Jim not ask. She asks Jim not to ask her to let go of Sam. Um, so it really kind of begs the question: if she was the only person that remembered him, did he really exist? Even if he was a real person, but no one remembered him except for her, does he still exist? It's kind of like that thing, like if a tree falls in the wood, does like it have bark, or it doesn't make a sound? Is really what the exact phrasing is, but you can extrapolate that and kind of go into it other ways. Um, can't get caught up in the cord, kitty. Can't get caught up in the cord. Um, so let's see. And of course, we start seeing these flashbacks. These flashbacks are annoying reoccurrence throughout the movie. I really wanted just the one flashback at the beginning that we could refer to, even if we had zero context for it, because it explains so much. I just think it's a better way to do it, and I don't know. Maybe I'll re-edit the movie so that I can watch it how I want to watch it. Um, but we see him getting ready to get on a plane is the point. So we can presume that it's something to do with a plane, and it's not going to take two more flashbacks randomly inserted in the movie to figure out what's happening with it. In the morning, she goes to the dresser, starts dwelling on Sam like she always does, because she shouldn't be doing that. Pulls out a baseball glove, a photo album, and all the pictures are missing. This is a lot of work for them to do, uh, regardless of who's pulling the strings. That is quite the effort right there to pull a prank on somebody. But she calls and accuses Jim. He doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. And she goes to watch the tapes she has of Sam. They're all blank. Jim comes home. Telly confronts him, and it's this beautiful moment of like, oh, you're finally getting better. You're finally realizing that Sam's not real. You're not seeing these delusions that you've had. And I don't know if I could sit there and watch someone like watch blank tapes over and over again. I think I would put you in the hospital if you were uh, not like saying I would hurt you and put you in the hot thing. I would put you in a mental ward, so that doctors could observe you and see that you're okay. Because I don't think I have the capacity to deal with that. Like I honestly think that I could. You give me give me a room and some time, and I can cure a lot of things. But that one may be outside my perceptible grasp. Um, but the point is, she gets all worked up. I don't even know what to say. But like Sam was 9, so like she invented 9 years of memories, and then on top of that, she invented years, or I think it was 2 years at this point. So he's 11. 2 years of creating memories of remembering him. Oi, I don't know what to do for that. Uh, like it just doesn't. It's quite a stretch of disbelief. Um, so she is acting like almost psychotically, like violently, and I don't blame her at all. Because if someone comes to you and tells you that like wood doesn't actually exist, you're gonna freak out a little bit, and you're going to be like, no, 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 wood's a thing. And even if they replace all the wood that you could ever known to be plastic, uh, you're going to hang on to that because it's the reality that makes sense to you. So she starts researching. She starts trying to look up uh, public papers, and she starts having this weird public breakdown. And I don't know what the point of that was. Just maybe to show us her mental state. Um, but we don't see the article. We just know. So we have to assume that she's telling the truth, and then assume that something is missing that should be there, just because she says it is. So it's really like we're fighting disbelief here. On the street, the neighbor lady doesn't remember Sam anymore. She did the other day. Telly goes to Ash's instead. Um, and then once you see his apartment, that's where it really solidifies that these are rich, well-to-do fuckers, and like it's very hard to sympathize with them. It's like, well, buy a new kid. Like it's it's a ridiculous thought, and I don't approve of that thought, and I'm not serious about that. But like that was a thought I had. Just like, why should I care? You have enough money to fix anything else, and possibly the actual issue here, not dealing with the kid being actually missing, but eh. But Ash doesn't remember having a daughter. She shows him like her room and like, oh, it's your office. This used to be your daughter's room. He goes to sleep off the alcohol to talk in the morning. And she finds this whittle patch on the wall, and of course, she does the logical thing, and she cuts away the I don't know if it was wallpaper or what you call that, but it was like thatch that was put on the wall. And sure enough, there's all his daughter's uh, drawings on the from drawing on the wall underneath that, which is a weird thing, anyways. And you would think that whoever it is that would cover that up would just clean it or paint over it and then do the thatching. And she does it with a butter knife. I thought that was really weird. So in breakfast, everyone's confused. Telly knows it's not her. It's that other people have forgotten. So she's absolutely sure of this at this point, that she's not crazy. Ash explains it away, that like it's someone else's daughter's room from the previous tenant. And she wants him to say her name. Like she's very insistent upon that. And like so he does it. And then he tries to call the police on her. They take her away. He confirms that he thinks that she dreamt it all, that she's just making it up. And then once they're on the street, the feds take her, and I say feds, and you know that means FBI, but these are NSA. Why the hell is NSA making arrests? Not, I really don't think that's their jurisdiction. Like, I know, like, Stitchers and a couple other shows have NSA type people, and they take people in for questioning or as witnesses, but like, I really don't think they hold people. Like, that's not their thing. They're an information agency. So sure enough, Ash remembers all of a sudden. He gets this flood of information coming back to him, and he does his thing, and he runs out on the street, and he fights two federal agents, and he does well enough that he's able to smash the window, reach in and unlock the doors, because your automatic locks should be attached to your prisoner doors. Yeah. Oh, geez, maybe it's a safety issue, but oh, geez, yeah, just the NSA comes off so weak in this movie. um, so she's running down the street. She hides behind a building. She looks up, and we see what looks like a UFO, almost a saucer shape. So I think we're supposed to take that to wholeheartedness, because we've established she's not crazy, that other people have forgotten, and that there's something grandiose happening. So why not aliens, extraterrestrials, ETs, Xenos, whatever you want to call them. Just crazy. So at the police station, Jim is being read in on the situation, what's happening with Telly. Ann Pope, I think, is the detective. So Ann Pope's very skeptical of everything that Jim's saying. She's like, why would she do this if there's no children? Essentially, it very much doesn't make sense. And sure enough, like, she's pointing out all the holes in the plot, and I really like it. I liked Ann Pope in this a lot. Um, so, like, what is it? So we have the second flashback at this point about, or from the bridge, about the children getting on the plane. In the park, Telly starts trying to read Ashen on her theories that there's something bigger. Uh, she kind of mentions aliens. I think he gets weirded out. But they're driving away. They're trying to go figure out what they're going to do. And sure enough, the NSA hits them with a car because that's standard procedure. Really, like that's like emergency takedown procedures for local police. Like I'm not even sure NSA should have training courses on that. Maybe I'm just unaware what the NSA does, but it's just not what I was thinking. Um, so, but they still don't get them. So these two are either really awesome at getting away, or these NSA agents are horrible. They finally get to a hotel. For whatever reason, Telly calls the psychologist, Dr. Muntz, and she confronts him about the series of events. And he tells her she's having a panic attack. A panic attack! What the fuck? Uh, I don't know what they were trying to convey with that character, but it's really weird. Um, and then the supplies Ash gets a hold of, just a waste of money, like snacks and alcohol. And really, the last thing that you need in a survival situation is alcohol or drugs. Like, you don't want to alter your perception of the world. You want to go in as realistically as possible and take care of business. Oi, oi, oi. But Ash does ask a good question. Why us? Why our kids? And it's something like that should be boiling in your brain at that point. So it's not too far fetched a thing in general. Um, let's see here. So we finally have a flashback of the plane taking off. Um, so yeah, and again the continuing question there is the kids are dead. Why forget them? No one goes looking for dead kids. So it was important that they were missing and not dead, even if they're presumed dead. In the morning, she tries to smack him awake, which I liked. She ends up going with the bucket of water, which of course he reacts to really well. Um, so tells him that she thinks the children are alive. Uh, that she can feel them being alive, and it makes me cringe. Like it's just no, no. But the cops are already after him. I don't know where they got the car they got. It was at a rental place. I guess they used a credit card. So maybe that tipped off the police. Okay, I'm piecing it together now. But they drive the car off, and the guy from the street earlier ends up standing in the way. The "Where's my car" guy. Or the guy that she was "Where's my car" to. I just use a title as a verb. I don't know if you do that. But finally, they hit him, and he flies in the gas pump, which I thought was impressive. A very impressively well done scene. So in the office park, Telly tracks down Jim. Jim doesn't remember Telly at all, or being married. So it's like I'm wondering what he does remember at this point, because he's basically a walking void. If he's forgotten like 11 years of memories. Oi, that's not good for your brain. Let's see here. And so it makes me wonder too. Do like the police remember Jim? Does Ann Pope have memories of talking to Jim? Like really, where does it fall apart? Um, so a car openly tries to chase them down, which I thought was very clever of them. It means the SA is not very stealthy for a secret government agency. Yeah. So in the car, they decide to get out of the city. And they drive by the guy from the gas station, and he's perfectly fine. Of course, we cut to the gas station. The gas station's at the car rental place, so we know it's the same place. But the managers there are all freaked out because the guy was fine. There's no blood anywhere. It's amazing. And Ann Pope is there. She ends up pushing back on the NSA guys because she rightfully believes it's her case. Oi. I keep saying oi. Oi, oi, oi. Uh, and then supposedly they give away some clues by not knowing things that they should. So Anne Pope's a smart cookie. She starts piecing things together. Um, what is it? Is it a cabin? Yeah, I guess it's a cabin. Telling Ash finds a cabin to hide away in, and Telly asks Ash not to drink. They bitch at each other. They have some really weird fights, um, and eventually he ends up pouring it out. Uh, it's a really awkward fight, touchy moment type thing. Let's see. Psychologist gets involved with the detective because he insists on helping. Uh, for whatever reason, Ash runs out of the cabin with a fireplace poker, and the guy doing surveillance on the cabin doesn't see this. So Ash sneaks up on him and hits him with the fireplace poker. So they have a captured NSA agent who's all by himself apparently because no one else is monitoring this cabin, I guess, and there's no one else that he drove up there with. I'm really saying they did not take care of those little details for some of the background stuff. Um, but a funny moment is that Ash starts beating the agent until he gets him to stop, and then she attacks him. Um, and it really comes down to this one pivotal moment where they're trying to get information out of him, and he goes, "They're listening." And the next thing you know, him and half the cabin are sucked up into space. Or into the sky. Maybe not space. So why not just take them too? So there's something very important about them being alive and in play, and not abducted in the same way. But the place turns into a crime scene, and Pope shows up and reads the note they left. And Pope picks up on the abduction clue. Let's see. Back in the car, Telly remembers another Quest Air, or remembers the name of the company, Quest Air, from the flashback, which probably we saw at some point. We just didn't know it was important. And they go to Quest Air, and it's dilapidated offices. Apparently, it's being repossessed. There's an accountant there that they trick into giving an address to a beach house thing, and I guess it's still Manhattan. So they go there, and it's Chenier's place. Chenier's the president. There is some good quotes here, or telling lines at least. They didn't move out, they just left. And honestly, that seemed fairly standard for that sort of house. It seems like a place that you summer or winter and not necessarily do a lot of in between. But they find the proof of Quest Air there, and there was a whole thing about him finally feeling awake for once. Out on the street, apparently the accountant gave him up, and so the detective and the psychologist are on their way to the beach house, where Telly remembers the guy from the gas station at the plane taking off. So it's good that she had a very clear memory of the situation. Ugh. For whatever reason, the Echo Tangos jam up the house. So like they can't open doors. It's really weird that they would take such measures to delay Telly and Ash from leaving, but not just arrest them or take them themselves. At this point, I think it's fairly acceptable to say that it's aliens. The detective shows up, and Chenier shows up, and then the detective shoots Chenier a bunch, and Chenier just keeps walking. He looks back at her and leaves. It's really weird, and rightfully so. She's very shaken by it. And when she goes and finds Telly to let her know that she's on her side and she understands and she knows, they take her. So back at Ash's, Chenier's there waiting for him, and what else do you do? Ash attacks Chenier, and they go out the window, and then they take Ash. Chenier hits the ground, gets up, and leaves. Like, it's amazing, though, how nobody is bothered by all the debris and a man falling out of a window. It's quite bothersome, to say the least. Yeah, so Muntz finds Telly and wants to help, so they go to the airport together. And apparently, Muntz knows a couple things that he wasn't letting on before because he recognizes Schneer and they talk. Um, and there's the line there that's it's not over. And why it's not over, she doesn't seem to understand. But I think that it's not over partly because he said it's not over, and partly because the objective wasn't met. And that's if you know someone who has chased a scientific theory before like that, it's that's definitely how it goes. It's like no, 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 we're gonna keep doing this until I'm right and I can prove it. And then Telly runs after him, and Muntz says he can't go with her. So she confronts Chenier. He does this thing to her where she gleefully remembers Sam. Uh, and then he makes her see Sam, or he literally runs by. But I think, given everything, it's clear that he caused a delusion for her, just to kind of see if he could, because he looks like the same age when he disappeared. But again, it's from 9 to 11, so how much different is he gonna look? I would assume that he's taller, unless they froze him in time, which is possible. So she chases the fake Sam, and she ends up running into Chenier. It becomes very clear that it was never about the children. It was about them. And he does this very villainous speech about what actually was his purpose on the experiment and everything. And apparently there's some kind of timer. I don't know how long he had. They didn't explain that. And that's honestly, that's the most interesting thing about his experiment, is that he had a certain amount of time to complete it. And I think maybe it was just that his constituents were like, look, it didn't work. You still have this here. And he's like, let me change it. And then, like, they're just pressuring him. And maybe they gave him, like, 24 solar hours or something to handle it. So yeah, so he's just very insistent. He explains he's accountable. He actually morphs and then does like a sonic scream right at her, and he just starts choking her. Because apparently that's what you do when ladies don't do what you want them to do. Maybe it paints him as a proper monster. I don't know, but like it was really kind of a weird way to go for how powerful and the abilities that they seem to have. Let's see here. Man, I don't feel good. So he has her find the first memory Sam, and if you've ever seen shows or anything that track memory like that, it's a thing they do where they use it as a marker. So it's like, find me that first memory, and I'm going to erase everything from here to the present involving that has that tag in it. But of course, she remembers being pregnant, but she phrases it so fucking weird. I remember having life inside me. No. And then somehow she remembers that she actually was pregnant, so that means she must have a kid. He asks about a boy, so I'm following there. But how she gets the name Sam again, I have no clue. Unless that just jogged enough memories. Because as we saw with Ash, the memories are recoverable the way that they erase them. So there is that. Then, for whatever reason, Chenier just says, I need more time, and he's sucked into space too. She goes home, she's looking for Sam, she goes to the park, and she finds Sam there. And the way he talks, he sounds very Canadian. It doesn't really match her speech patterns at all, but some goofy kid. It's alright if he's Canadian. And Lauren is there, and Ash is there, and Ash does not remember Telly. And it's not very clear if Telly remembers everyone. Like, she obviously recognized Lauren, but did she remember the true strain of events? Does she actually recognize Ash, or when does she walk up to Ash, does she get hit with a memory wipe, and she forgets all the things from the alternate memory line? Because they can't really, like, rewind time, so they just placed everything back with memories as if he was there all the time. I would imagine he might be like a little muscle atrophied. Atrophied? I don't know how you say it. But he would have some muscle loss and things from whatever stasis, but maybe they have better stasis than we do. So it leaves a lot of questions at the end. Let's be honest. Like, was everyone put back? Was Ann Pope put back? Was everyone's mind altered for this sort of thing? It's very unwieldy to think of and to deal with, and yeah. Okay, so I'm having a little bit of a dizzy spell, so I need to get off of here before something happens. But if you like talking about movies, uh, do a thing, use the hashtag WeAreMovieClub, or talk to us at WeAreMovieClub on the Twitters. Um, I am Camerai. I'm pretty consistently doing things like this, and I love talking about things that I love. Like next week, I'm going to talk to you about Lucy, unless one of my friends ends up watching it. But yeah, that'll be a good thing. That's actually available on HBO Now or Netflix by DVD. I couldn't find it elsewhere. I forgot to check Prime. You know what? Let's do that real quick. Let's check a thing together. Because Amazon is a great and wonderful thing, if we're being honest. But Lucy is a very interesting thing, and it meets the sci-fi thematic type thing. It is available on Amazon Video, not for rental or watch, but to buy. $15 in HD. That's not terrible. I've seen worse prices. But if you are watching Game of Thrones, it's on HBO or HBONow.com. If you do that, I think you have to register through your mobile device for HBO Now. HBO Go might be another thing entirely. But yeah. So if you're paying attention to Game of Thrones, just click over and watch Lucy, and then meet up with us next Monday. Let's hope, and we'll chat about it then. Um, yeah, thank you so much for watching and listening, however you ingest this media. Until you see us next time, I am Camerai, and this has been hashtag WeAreMovieClub. If you want to see anything else we're up to, go to click the annotations and it'll take you to our other channels. Thanks for watching.